Rachel, thanks for joining me. I'm super excited to open up and start some conversations as we head into year 4 of Athletes Unlimited softball. But first, fill me in. What have you been up to in the off season? What have you been doing?
Yeah, I've been coaching at UC San Diego. I started back in October and it's been great.
How have you liked that experience? And I know you've been in that role before, just being on that side of the ball, obviously getting to stay in California, great weather, I am sure, and then just kind of constantly being around softball year round.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good transition over. I enjoy the coaching staff. I enjoy the players. And it just is it's just a growing opportunity for me. So just kind of being able to stay involved in the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that I'm really curious about, especially in your experience as, you're kind of learning how to train and prepare for a season as a pro, obviously not being in college and having all of that kind of set up for you and it really being up to you. So 2 months out from season, what does this year look like of establishing, okay, this is what my year is going to look like as a pro softball player. It's a little bit different in the timing, when you play, when you're off, when you're training. Can you take me through a little bit of what that has looked like for you?
For just the training part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to train with the team as much as possible. I throw live to them. I work out in the gym with them. Um, And they're kind of like on the same, obviously, just what a normal college routine is like 3 days a week of training for lifting, and the other 2 days of conditioning. So been able to hop in on all those sessions. During practice, sometimes I'll come early and get some reps in, or sometimes I'll stay after practice, get some more reps in. We have this thing called an open field where it's like you're allowed to take as many reps as you want, where like whether it's hitting or fielding. So I'll also hop in on those sessions, just also to get my own reps in, but just being able to still have those facilities to train at and utilize what I can at the college, I think has also been super helpful. Just being able to train for this upcoming season.
Has it been a challenge or different? Obviously, not training with a team that you are competing on, and then knowing you're stepping into a season where obviously you'll be on teams and they'll change every week. But when it comes to the leaderboard, you're more so an individual, and that's really up to you. Has that been different for you this past year?
I would say no. No, I would just say like ideally at the end of the day, just being able to be me on the field. And I think when I am doing that, like I'm playing the best version of myself on the field.
Coming off of this debut season that you had with Athletes Unlimited to finish second at AUX and then in the top 10 at championship season, you saw continuous success week after week, season to season. What attribute of your game would you really point to as the biggest part of why you were able to do that both seasons, game after game?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like we're playing against some of the best players in the nation, and obviously with the pitching world, like you have to be a little bit more strategic when you're pitching to some of the best hitters in the nation, and plus like as the years go by, like the bats are getting better and stronger, so just being able to be a little bit more strategic in that part. I would say too, just the leaderboard part, I would say what I bring is just being a hitting pitcher and being utilized in ways that other pitchers wouldn't be able to be utilized. So I feel like that also brings a little bit more of me as a pitcher into this league.
Totally. I know that's something that you've talked about of just how people say, oh, pitchers don't hit. And you really being a testament to say, well, I do. And we saw it in seasons where you would go out and start a game and have a great outing. And then at AUX, where you had the walk-off single that won the game in the seventh. So for you as a pro to be able to continue to make the statement that I am a two-way player, and not only that, I do it well. What does that mean to you really in your identity as an athlete? And then just kind of as a message to people who watch you, especially young players in baseball and softball.
Yeah, I think being being able to say that I am a two-way player, being a pitcher that hits, it's not about just the sport, but it's also just like being able to grow the sport of softball and like teaching the young girls that like yes, they can do both if that's what they truly want to do when they grow up, but it's just letting them know that like you can do both if you're willing to put in the work.
What does the training and I guess mindset of a two-way player look like? Like right now, as we've got these 2 months to season, like how much are you devoting to pitching versus hitting, and how do you balance the two?
Yeah, I always say that I love pitching, but I do take a little bit more pride in my hitting. I think I spend more time on my hitting than I do my pitching. And I think a lot of people can say that.
I know we talked a little bit about how being able to have those outings where, I mean, you had multiple complete games, 3 saves, 7 starts during championship season. Was there a specific pitch that was like your go-to that you knew if you got in a jam or you got in a tough situation, it's the one you lean on? Do you have one in your back pocket you feel that way about?
Always my curve and my rise.
Yeah.
I have more faith in my curve and my rise.
When you mentioned something that kind of ties right into that of just going up against really the best of the best when it comes to hitters. And there's a game that I wanted to ask you about specifically. So I'm going to pull up my stats from it. And I didn't realize it at the time. So you had thrown the complete game shutout. I think that was one of our first true like pitchers duels that we'd really seen where there were two people just like going back and forth. Can you tell me a little bit about that game, being inside of it in the circle, knowing that you're both having these performances that were just like unbelievable? It was one of my favorite games of the season.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think Taylor Edwards was catching me, and I think it was like randomly right before a game. I haven't thrown my drop ball in like months, and I was randomly like, "Hey, like let's just warm this up and see what it looks like, and maybe we'll call it in a game." And actually, that game was the first time I threw it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I guess I just shouldn't throw it for a couple months, and then decided to throw it one more like randomly in a game. So I would say like that at the very beginning was just kind of like the initial like, yeah, sure, like let's not why not throw another pitch in my arsenal. And then I would just say throughout the game, it was just like ideally just having fun. I mean, me and Taylor Edwards connected very well as a pitcher catcher duo, and I think she caught me for more than half of the games there that
Wow.
entire time I was there. So I was very appreciative of her as a catcher, and I just think the way that she is as a player, I think brings out a lot of greatness on the field.
There's another game kind of similar to that one I wanted to ask you about specifically. It was your shutout, but there was something about it that I learned later, kind of just like going back and watching and looking at highlights, is you never had a 1, 2, 3 inning that game. So it wasn't fast paced. You consistently had people on and got yourself out of that situation. I think it came down to there were 10 runners, left on base that game. What does that say about that mindset to be able to do that? Because I think a lot of times if you'd hear somebody had a complete game or a shutout, there probably weren't a lot of people on base. But for you, it was people can get on base, but I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, I would say just like knowing that it's okay to not have your best outing, but it's how you can give 100% into like that B or C game. And I think like for me, it was more so like spotting up pitches more than focusing on my movement that day, and being comfortable with not throwing an A game, but still giving everything you have into that day.
Definitely. There's one last aspect kind of about the trends of your season. Obviously, you had multiple starts, 3 complete games, the solo shutout, but the saves. Is there a different mindset or mentality when you're stepping into those games? As someone who can be a starter, do you have to have a shift to take on a different role, especially when AU, where some nights you are the starter, other times you're the mid relief, sometimes you go in to close out a game? Does that change depending on what's asked of you by your captain?
I would say whether you start mid relief or close, like no matter what, you always have to have the mindset of like that is you going in to start.
Mm.
And knowing that like you are the best out there on the mound, and like at the end of the day, like those batters have to beat you on your best pitch. So like I think if you have that mindset, like you're gonna be okay. And that's kind of like me coaching at UCSD. That's kind of what I've been trying to engrave into our pitchers, is that like at the end of the day, like your stuff's better, and then those hitters have to beat you.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of going into this year, any expectations or mindset about year 2 with AU?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to be a part of it again. And just to see all the new faces that are going to be coming in this year. So super exciting.
What was your biggest or most impactful moment, whether on field or off, from this past year?
Hmm. Mm, I would say like just the amount of time that you spend together, whether you're on the same team or not. Like there's been a couple times where we would go out and we'd find like a seafood boil or like go and do our nails together, or we'll find like a dessert place. So like I feel like those were probably one of like the best memories throughout AU, just being able to create those friendships whether you were on the same team or not.
I know during AUX, I had asked you this question after you had medaled, and I was like, "Oh, what was your best moment of the season?" You're like, "My roommates, like playing Uno until 1 a.m." And I was like, "That's such a great answer, and it's still the same."
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like again, like it's what win or lose, like you're doing something that you truly enjoy and that you love and that you're passionate about. So like I'm someone who never took the game too seriously, like because at the end of the day, like this is my job and I get to have fun doing it. So if I could just create the memories on and off the field, like I feel like that's what makes this journey awesome.
Biggest thing for fans to expect out of Rachel Garcia this upcoming season? Anything new? Anything you've been working on? You can give us a preview about?
I would say just can the smiles that I'll bring to the field.